Welcome to the next video in our series about using layers in different ways. And in this particular video, we're going to focus on using layers for tracing. Now, you might want to use tracing to beef up your skills. So if you want to build some muscle memory of how to draw a particular thing, or perhaps get a sense of how to draw something realistically so you can go on to caricature or cartoon it, then tracing is really, really useful. The second thing you might want to do is use tracing to incorporate certain elements, such as background elements or very specific details, into a drawing from a reference, and do it quickly. The first thing that we need to do is to get our file into our Procreate file. So we're going to tap on the Actions wrench, and we're going to have to choose an option, either Insert a File or Insert a Photo. So this would require that you've already saved your reference image in the file or the photo area. I usually have mine on my camera roll. That's the place that I find it easiest. So I'm going to choose this box. I had the reference photograph of the box saved. I've brought it in and it's come in absolutely tiny. So the transform tool is highlighted, that blue arrow in the top line on the left. And I have a few options. I can either stretch it out like this by tapping on one of the corner dots and pulling. And you don't want to stretch it out from the side like that because that's going to distort it. So let's just go back. All right. So I can either stretch it diagonally by pulling on one of the corner dots, or if I wanted to fill the whole screen, I can choose this option in the bottom row of icons which says Fit to Screen. And I'm going to go with that. Once I've got it to the size I want, I tap on the transform tool again to get rid of those dotted lines around the outside. And now let's imagine that I want to make this a little bit paler so that it doesn't obscure my tracing too much. So I open up my layer control area, my layer manager, and I tap with 2 fingers on this blue highlighted area which says layer 1. So 2-finger tap, I get this slide to adjust line across the top of the screen, and I literally just tap it with my pencil or my finger and I drag to the left to reduce the opacity of my layer. And I'm reducing it. I usually reduce it to about 20%. Once I've done that, I can tap back into my layer manager, add a new layer on the top, and now I'm good to go. I can go and start tracing. So depending on whether you're tracing because you want to teach yourself something or you're tracing because you want to incorporate something, obviously you'll choose a different brush. So let's go along with tracing to incorporate some learning. So I'm going to trace very roughly with my 6B pencil, and I want to teach myself a little bit about drawing a box, something like this, in perspective. So if I wanted to, what I could do is now go back into my layer manager, double tap with 2 fingers on layer 2, reduce the opacity of that as well, go back in with a different color, do a little bit more tracing. Then what I could do is I could say, okay, I am going to untick both of those, and now I'm going to test how well I can draw this. So let me change color one more time. Now what I can do is I can find my, untick my reference again and see how well did I do. Not too bad. I got the bottom area of it a little bit odd, but let's tap in here, transform, and move mine, just kind of scale it up a little bit to see how accurate was I. So I got this angle really a little bit wildly off, didn't I? But this is not too bad. But it's a good way of seeing how well did I do with my tracing. And so that is a very useful way of using layers, reducing the opacity of the entire layer that you've incorporated your reference into, and then going in and using it, using a new layer to trace over. Now, one more thing. I'm going to untick both of the layers that I used to draw over, and now let's go in as if we're going to actually use this box and incorporate it directly into something. So what I'm going to do is choose myself a good sort of finishing brush, I'm going to choose the Studio Pen because I want some quite bold lines. I'm going to go with traditional black here. And then I am going to just use this as a reference. So here we go, going for the actual outline now. Tap and add a layer. Right, so this is my outline layer on top. Not the straightest lines, but I prefer hand-drawn looking stuff rather than using ruler type tools. So I'm going to stick with my wonky lines. We'll go on in another video to show you how you can get really smooth lines if that's your preference. And we all find our preference in the end. It's a matter of style, whether we like wonkiness or not such wonkiness. So here I am working with my line, putting my outlines directly in. So little hint of something in the background there. And there we have it. So if I tap back into my layer manager and I untick the reference, you can see there I've got my box and I can go in and color it as I want. So that's the second use of layers for tracing.